Well, in the final days of the regular session of the Texas legislature, lawmakers in both chambers are debating skyrocketing property taxes.
All of this happening as homeowners across the Lone Star State are getting this year's tax bill in the mail. GMET's Lorena Rivas is here now to explain this issue and why it's front and center once again, as well as some possible solutions. Good morning, Lorena.
Good morning. So Texans still pay income taxes. Instead, the state relies on property taxes to fund government services like public schools, emergency services, and road maintenance. This year, people in several East Texas counties are reporting huge increases in their tax bills, and some are even pushing back against the appraisals.
I was shocked. I did not expect that, and it immediately made me concerned, made me sick to my stomach.
In Zandt County, some homeowners are surprised to learn what the county says their property is worth. Sharp increases in home values means they'll pay more in taxes.
As long as taxation is like this, the American dream is dead.
Last week, residents attended a meeting with the county's appraisal board, expressing frustration. Some are losing the homestead exceptions that give them a tax break.
Shouldn't be attacking one another. We need to figure out how to fix the system. Yes.
Property values are determined by an appraisal district in each county through a process that happens at least once every 3 years.
One central hub so that property owners...
This is Zandt County's Chief Appraiser, Emily Reeves. In a statement, she says the 22% increase was due to more people being able to work from home. She also said they operate in mass appraisal, which means they value a group of properties using standardized procedures in statistical analysis. Unlike a fee appraisal that looks at individual property and makes specific adjustments. Some homeowners agree there was a huge upswing in the market, but realtor Tiffany Koffel doesn't believe that was the case for last year.
As a broker, I have access to the numbers, and actually year over year from 2022 to 2023, we've had a 23% decrease. We should not be penalized and taxed on a blip of a high market.
New legislation could eventually relieve the burden for Texas homeowners. But Koffel says there is a more immediate solution.
Protest your taxes. Make a list of everything that's absolutely wrong with your property, because it does affect the market value.
Again, this is just one example of the frustration over property taxes right now in Texas. For concerned property owners in Zandt County, there's another public tax forum planned next Tuesday, May 9th. The meeting is at 6 p.m. at the Farm Bureau in Canton. Now, if you're interested in learning how to protest your appraisal, no matter which county you live in, scan the QR code on your screen or head to the big red box at kltv.com or ktre.com to learn more about the process. To protest an appraised value, you have till May 15 or 30 days after a notice of appraised value was mailed to you. Lane, back to you.
A lot of people have their eyes on this issue right now. Thanks for helping us understand that, Lorena.